Please be seated. The high-level closing roundtable started now. Your Excellency, Mr. Thani bin Al Ahmed Al Zayyoudi, Minister of State for Foreign Trade, United Arab Emirates, Mr. Pedro Manuel Moreno, Deputy Secretary General of UNCTAD, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to serve as your moderator for this closing roundtable of the World Investment Forum 2023. My name is James John, Director of Investment and Enterprise at UNCTAD. First, allow me to invite His Excellency, Mr. Thani bin Ahmed Al Zayyoudi, Minister of State of Foreign Trade, United Arab Emirates, to give the opening statement. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you, James. Good morning, Your Excellencies, and thank you so much, my dear friend, His Excellency Pedro, Deputy Secretary of the UNCTAD. It's really a pleasure to join you all at the end of such a productive forum and be able to reflect on the many conversations and discussions held and the commitments made throughout the last few days. It has been an important week for the UAE. In hosting the World Investment Forum for the first time, we have been able to welcome world leaders, policymakers, and global investors to our capital and share our vision for sustainable, equitable developments, open rule-based trade, strategic investment, both domestically and foreign, and the topic of today is the energy transition. We have, I believe, also succeeded in championing consensus and collaboration, even if the world continues to remind us how hard they are to achieve. Our future relies on us all to keep finding new ventures and avenues of growth, new paths for developments, and new partnerships for progress. And this week has ensured that we are moving in the right direction on several important fronts. We have, for instance, made significant progress on key elements of COP28, which the UAE will be hosting just over a month from now. In particular, we took important steps on the finance track, which seeks to plug the gaps in climate finance and mobilize resources for climate mitigation, adaptation, loss, and damage. There were also very useful inputs onto food security and the work of the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO. Again, while climate change and conflicts remain two of the largest barriers to the Sustainable Development Goals of eliminating hunger and malnutrition, we must also be aware of the impact of inflation and supply chain disruption. In line with the UAE's commitments to supporting the emerging economies of Asia, Africa, and Middle East, we were able to advance our poverty reduction agenda in regards to the least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small islands developing states. We have also created an action plan on investments ahead of the SITS 24 in Antigua and Barbuda in May next year. Above all, though, we have restated the case for trade investments to be a key driver of the global developments. As a global trade hub, the UAE is committed to promoting the benefits of multilateral trading system and will continue to pursue partnerships with like-minded nations to enhance market access, secure supply chain, stimulate productivity, and create new opportunities for strategic investments. It is a message that is informing our preparations for the WTO's 13th Ministerial Conference here in the UAE in February 2024. After all, the United Arab Emirates is living proof that trade and development go hand in hand. Thank you all for the constructive contribution this week, and I'm looking forward to continue those discussions as we build towards COP28 in November, as well as WTO 13th Ministerial meeting. Thank you so much, and looking forward to continue working with you all. Thanks, James.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Minister of State for Foreign Trade, for the opening statement. May I now invite Mr. Petro Moreno, Deputy Secretary General of UNCTAD, to give his opening statement and also an overview of the outcome of the World Investment Forum.
Thank you, James. Your Excellency, my dear friend, Mr. Tani Al-Seyudi, Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji, Ministers, Excellencies, dear friends. First of all, let me thank you all for all contributors and participants of the World Investment Forum for your energy and wisdom this week. We have greatly appreciated your commitment to the mission of the World Investment Forum to promote investment for sustainable development and prosperity for all. We have provided many numbers about the scale of the challenge we face and the investments needed. And because numbers matter, let me share some that reflect the engagement and the scope of this forum with you now that we are coming to an end. As of last night, the World Investment Forum 2023 was attended by almost 8,000 participants, including more than 1,100 speakers. It saw interventions by 2 Royal Highnesses, 5 heads of state and government, 69 ministers and deputy ministers, 57 high-level representatives of international organizations, and countless other policymakers and legislators, including parliamentarians, heads of investment promotion agencies, treaty negotiators, and regulators. The 157 sessions were organized with 80 partner organizations from across the world. I am sure you agree with me that these numbers are not only impressive, but most importantly, meaningful. The private sector was present with more than 700 CEOs and executives of multinationals and of stock exchanges, pension and sovereign wealth funds, family businesses, and other companies. We learned from the experience and insights of many entrepreneurs, investors, and data providers of the investment and development space. We had civil society at the table, with thought leaders, academia, non-governmental and non-for-profit organizations, as well as the media. And importantly, the youth, who were also an integral part of the forum, reminding us what counts for their and future generations. And while we need to improve gender parity in terms of registered participants, speakers and panelists, we already had 34% of them being women. We remain fully committed to increasing that number so that future discussions reflect the perspectives of our society as a whole. And equally important, the forum is unique by having the global South and North on an equal footing. More than 60% of registered participants, speakers and panelists were from the global South, making this a truly horizontal and balanced dialogue. As you can see, and as you have made it, this has been a genuine multi-stakeholder dialogue, reflecting UNCTAD's deep commitment to inclusivity and global engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, the World Investment Forum took place for our global economy, as was outlined by Secretary General Greenspan in her opening remarks last Monday. The multiple crises of this time and increasing political fragmentation are affecting trade and investment. Global investment is stagnant at best, and data for the first half of 2023 confirmed the continued downward pressure on FDI. This is of much concern, as less investment means less economic growth and fewer means to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. The SDG investment gap in developing countries has increased from $2.5 trillion in 2015, when the SDGs were adopted, to $4 trillion today. We have reminded ourselves of this colossal figure during all the panels and discussions this week. This forum has been an excellent platform to put concrete solutions on the table. We need to act urgently and decisively. We discussed many ways to leverage finance and investment for sustainable development, not only in terms of diagnostic, but most importantly, in terms of solutions, of concrete solutions. Together, we try to tackle the most important challenges facing sustainable investment in developing countries, including high risk ratings and capital costs due to debt distress, the deteriorating international investment climate and tighter financial conditions, difficult business environments, and institutional and infrastructure shortcomings. We identified investment priorities, such as renewable energy and energy infrastructure, agriculture and agri-food systems to improve food security, resilience and biodiversity, water management, and healthcare, among others. And we prioritized policy tools and actions to overcome the challenges and push sustainable finance and investment to priority areas, including through public-private partnerships, investment promotion and facilitation, and blended finance. In advance of COP28, we discussed the leadership role investors can take in bringing the world to carbon neutrality. We identified how investment promotion agencies and special economic zones can contribute to the energy transition. All this, dear friends, resulted in important outputs. Let me share some of them with you now. One, we influenced the international policy agenda through ministerial dialogues. We had 4 ministerial meetings covering investment, enterprise, small island developing states and investment guarantees, the least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, seats, and business roundtable. The many interesting policy ideas and priorities of ministers are captured in the summaries of proceedings. These will feed into intergovernmental processes in UNCTAD, into the ongoing UN General Assembly work on a resolution on investment, and into other important intergovernmental processes, including COP28, the 13th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization, the 4th International Conference on Seeds, the 3rd International Conference on LLDC, and the World Health Assembly 2024. So, as you can see, this does not end here. The link between the WIF climate finance and investment track and the COP28 global dialogue and investment-focused preparatory events allows the forum to have impact much beyond the discussions of this week. And this matters, as it brings your voices to negotiating bodies. 2, we got concrete deliverables from the forum. It is a difficult task, actually, to cover the full range of outcomes, large and small, from a forum with so many events covering a broad range of topics, from MNEs and women empowerment, to sustainability, accounting and reporting, to investment in Industry 4.0, to entrepreneurship in the new health economy, and many more. But let me give it a try. First, we announced or launched new policy instruments, many of them being the first of their kind. We identified 50 SDG model special economic zones to help disseminate best practices to 7,000 economic zones in over 140 countries. We launched the multi-stakeholder platform on international investment agreements reform with the objective to identify ways to fast-track sustainable development and the energy transition. We announced a joint initiative with the UN World Tourism Organization to establish a set of guiding principles for promoting investment in sustainable tourism. We launched a new UN Sustainable Stock Exchanges Action Framework to maximize the opportunities of carbon markets. And we launched a host of new publications and policy guides on various topics. Second, we created partnerships. A partnership with the African Sovereign Investors Forum to promote sustainable investments. 3 new regional partnerships for the promotion of sustainability reporting in Asia, in the Gulf region, and Eurasia as part of ISAR, the Intergovernmental Group of Experts on International Standards for Accounting and Reporting. An MOU between the stock exchanges of Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand to jointly launch a new central sustainability platform for the Asian region, a new academic research agenda on investment for development, which is a collaborative initiative between UNCTAD, scholarly associations, and partner universities. And finally, a public-private partnership technical assistance facility to be developed by the World Association of Public-Private Partnership Units and Professionals, together with partner organizations. And this is only what we have seen on the record. I am sure that more partnership will develop thanks to the networking and alliances during the forum. Third, we held several capacity building events for the investment stakeholder community. For instance, on sustainability reporting standards, FDI statistics, or international tax reforms. Four, we have announced or are announcing 2 new donor-funded technical assistance programs. A funding partnership with the German International Climate Initiative and the Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, GIZ, the German Cooperation Agency, to support sustainability reporting and climate disclosure in developing countries. And a new funding partnership, which will be announced by Ambassador Berger of the European Union later in this session. And finally, we celebrated the winners of our awards programs, which recognize best practices in investment promotion, international standards for accounting and reporting, sustainable funds, women in business, and digital government. All these accomplishments have happened in the spirit of our mandate on investment for sustainable development agreed at UNCTAD 15 and captured in the Bridgetown Covenant. But as you can imagine, and as you have seen, we couldn't have achieved all this alone. I want to express my profound and sincere gratitude to our host, the government of the UAE and the Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development, for your warm hospitality and unwavering support in organizing the forum. Dear Minister Tani, it has been really an honor to be your guest in this magnificent city of Abu Dhabi. I commend your constant push and encouragement to make this forum concrete, specific, and solution-driven since the very first discussions that we had about the WIF when we started planning it. Hosting the World Investment Forum, the upcoming COP, and the 13th Ministerial Conference on the WTO shows your commitment to drive the change needed for the world we aspire. Thank you, dear Minister. We are very proud to have worked with so many partner organizations from across the UN system and beyond. We are very grateful for your support. I want to thank all speakers who shared with us their expertise. You gave us food for thought. I want to thank the youth for engaging effusively. You gave us hope. I want to especially thank all colleagues from UNCTAD, in the investment divisions, communications division, in the Intergovernmental Support Service, and the security team. You made all of this possible. And I want to especially thank James Zhang, our Director of the Investment and Enterprise Division at UNCTAD, who created this forum 15 years ago and made it grow to what it is today. Dear James, the forum will be your legacy to UNCTAD and to the investment community. But this is not the end yet. We have 3 representatives at this round table today who will share with us what the World Investment Forum represents for them and where they would like to see it going. This will inspire our future work. And we in UNCTAD, as you know very well, are especially good at taking our partners' recommendations forward. So, dear friends, much is at stake, but jointly we hold the key to a path forward that benefits all. This is not just a statement, it is a responsibility, our collective responsibility. A big thank you to all investment for development stakeholders for joining us at WIF, and I look forward to our continued interactions and, most importantly, to meet again at the next World Investment Forum. A big thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Secretary General of UNCTAD, Pedro Manuel Moreno. This is the opening statement of our high-level closing roundtable on investing in sustainable development, the way forward. So we'll proceed with the 3 segments. First, we'll have the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji here to give us the keynote, followed by the ministers, heads of states statement, and then the ambassadors around the table. May I now have the honor to give the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji the floor to speak. It is on.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the Minister for Trade for the United Arab Emirates, and Excellency Deputy Secretary General of UNCTAD, ministerial colleagues and excellencies present here today. Firstly, I bring greetings from the wide Pacific Ocean. And in the words of Fijian, Nisam Bulavinaka, and it's an honor and pleasure to be here today. I have come to this forum just to come and listen. And I found the forum very instructive, very insightful, and allow me to just make some remarks regarding how valuable this forum is for us, and particularly the small island states. 2 obvious statements at the beginning. No one size fits all. And you will appreciate this given the smaller sizes of the small island states relative to our risk profiles and in terms of our size of our economies. The second obvious statement is for us to all remember that climate change is not of our doing. And therefore, we hope as small island states that as we progress in our green transition, as we progress to decarbonize the world, that this obvious fact must be always front and center. In good specific spirit, I thought I'd share my thoughts in terms of 2 very brief stories. The first one I shared at the Ministerial Dialogue for Small Island Developing States. And I have had 33 years in the private sector before becoming a politician. And during that time, I worked for the national carrier of Fiji, Fiji Airways. It was called Air Pacific. And at one stage, we decided to buy a brand new aircraft, a small island in the middle of the ocean, wanting to buy a brand new Boeing aircraft. And the government of the day told us, no government guarantees, go and look for funding yourself. Fortunately, the United States of America had the Exim Bank, which is the Export Credit Agency for America. We reached out to them. They actually provided a guarantee effectively, which allowed us then to go to market, the international market, and get funding from Citibank at that time. That was in the 1990s. I share that story because I think whilst we accept that in terms of sustainable finance, some of the countries are just not bankable. A mix of sovereign guarantees, a mix of blended finance may well unlock the solutions for the small island states. The second story is one that has some tragedy to it. At the moment in Fiji, we have already 40 settlements that are going to be relocated. They are getting inundated in water. If you understand the Pacific Island states, and I think a lot of the member countries here can relate to this, when you talk about land and dwellings in the Pacific context and in the wider, I'm sure, African and island context, you're talking about a spiritual experience. It's more than just a physical relocation. And the question that I've always bugged me is, how do you make a business case out of relocating villages? And that's just something to think about. Some final remarks. The first one was, from the island countries and particularly the Pacific Island states, the loss and damage conversation at COP28 must be resolved. It cannot be left to linger or wander on to the next COP. Second is, as I've shared in my Boeing story, I believe that if financiers, sovereign wealth funds, can start having conversations around how we unlock a just transition for the island states through blended financing solutions, I think we can actually move on that front as well. Because we do not have the benefit of scale and attractive remunerative projects as in some countries. The third one, which I just thought I'd share, in the Pacific, some of us actually are large enough to have a decent carbon market or sizable market. And I'm thinking in this question of how to structure, to actually create funding to resolve issues around mitigation and adaptation. I'm hoping that we can, in the Pacific, develop a carbon market that can be used to then service green bonds or blue bonds as an option going forward. And finally, the harsh reality is, given under the spirit of no one size fits all, some countries in the world will just not be able to produce an attractive return on some of their investments. And I think it behoves all nation states to actually just accept that as we try and address the climate transition, the just transition for climate change, that we seriously need to think about those countries that will just have not enough in terms of the risk profile, not enough in terms of volume to justify a profitable investment, but they will require either grant funding or even gifted funding. So with those few words, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be here, Excellency, Honorable Minister from the United Arab Emirates. I was here a long time ago, and it's amazing to see how your country has transitioned. It's been quite an educational experience for me being here. And thank you again for your hospitality. I thank UNCTAD for inviting us. And certainly from where we sit, this is a available forum to discuss issues of mutual concern for all countries globally. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji, Honorable Mania Kamikamika. Before hearing the guidance from the ministers and ambassadors, I wish to give the floor to the track reporters to report back to the closing session, so that you have a background what has been achieved over the past 4 years, 4 days. Mm-hmm. Allow me to start with first Mr. Bern Hackman, Team Leader, Climate Change Mitigation, UNFCCC, to give the takeaway from the climate finance and investment track. You have the floor, Mr.
Thank you very much, James. Excellencies, good morning. It is a great honor for us to be here and to partner with our colleagues at UNCTAD to jointly develop the work and the tracks here at the World Investment Forum. Before I start, let me first really thank the government of the United Arab Emirates for hosting this event, because it is a critical event and it comes really on time, as you know. Let me also thank, in general, the World Investment Forum for having us here. It's the first time. And also, of course, UNCTAD for working with us on the nexus of climate change and finance, trade, and investment. And of course, also for the COP28 presidency to bring all of this together. Ladies and gentlemen, this summer, as many of you know, in the Northern Hemisphere is the warmest on record. It has become self-evident that we really need to do our utmost to keep the 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature increase in reach and as our North Star for our activities. This means we need to reduce global emissions by minus 43% by 2030 compared to where we were 2019. Earlier this week, the incoming COP president, Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, sent a letter to governments outlining his plan for COP28 to drive climate action across all areas, as we just also heard from Fiji, on adaptation, on mitigation, on loss and damage, and also on increasing and amplifying the support to developing countries in being an active part of this. One of the key pillars, and I'll talk more about that, is really also fast-tracking the just and equitable energy transition around the world in order to reduce the emission that we have to address. Also this week, as you mentioned, the UNFCCC organized a global dialogue and an investment focus event on the just energy transition, focusing on the transport sector here in Abu Dhabi. And again, we would like to thank you for making this happen. This was really to intensify the exchange amongst governments and other stakeholders prior to COP and to drive the discussion forward so that at COP we can really make the move forward we need. The investment focus event took place here at the World Investment Forum, and we are grateful for the support from our colleagues at UNCTAD and for the great collaboration. It was the first time that we actually merged events on our agendas. Let me tell you something you already know. Trade and investment are critical enablers for all countries to implement concrete and ambitious climate action. At the same time, providing clear policy signals, incentives, regulations is also what is needed for the investment community to place the investment and to make this really happen. And this is where we work together. Climate action needs finance, and the finance community is looking for investment opportunities in the energy transition and beyond that, as we just heard. We are looking at two sides of the same coin. And through cooperation, we can provide opportunities for the different stakeholder groups to come together to identify ways forward on how we make climate action and the energy transition a reality. Now let me share some of the points that were discussed during the Global Dialogue and the Investment Forum events. Under the UNFCCC process, governments and stakeholders have been exchanging on experiences with the energy transition, including in the transport sector. Firstly, it needs to be noted that the energy transition and decarbonization pathways are already starting to be implemented around the world. It is something that everyone is looking into right now. Governments are currently carefully assessing the opportunities and also the risks that come their way in this regard. But to make it happen at scale, investment in infrastructure, in technologies, but also developing skills and educating the workforce are absolutely necessary. In this regard, an enabling national and international environment is needed to facilitate trade, investment, and development. At the same time, it is also recognized that this transition really requires tailor-made solutions for each country based on national circumstances and on national capacities. Here at the WIF, we were following many of the ongoing panels. It was for us delightful to see that conversations about mobilizing finance and investment in trade for climate action is not only happening at the UNFCCC, it is actually happening here. We heard discussions on financing the just energy transition, realizing strong interest in investing in energy and in climate action. We also heard about the role of trade and investment policies for NDCs, national determined contributions, the climate plans of every country. And we heard about the role of carbon markets as one of the tools to make this happen. We noticed that for many in the public and private sector, there's a strong interest in investing in energy and the energy transition. From your deliberations here at the WIF, it was also clear that financing the just energy transition is not a philanthropic exercise. it is an opportunity, a business opportunity for many. And these opportunities are plentiful, and our focus must be to work together to make these happen. Ladies and gentlemen, to achieve the temperature goal of the Paris Agreement and to reduce global emissions, investing in energy transition is critical. By 2025, all countries will prepare their new NDCs, following the outcome of the global stocktake and everything that is happening here at COP28. These NDCs really need to drive down emissions and put us on a track to a resilient planet. And it also provides a unique opportunity for everyone to get involved in this process in planning and developing the policies, the projects, and also the financial investments that are needed around the world for making this happen. We encourage everyone here to work together in your national circumstances with your government and your international partners to develop these NDCs and to put us on a pathway towards 1.5 degrees. We are looking forward to exploring more opportunities to help drive global investment in climate action. And to that end, we are also collaborating with our partners at UNCTAD, exploring to organize an occasion at COP28 to also bring the conversations from here into the discussion at COP. So I thank you very much for all the deliberations, and thank you for making us part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hackman, for the takeaway. And we wish also to express our gratitude to you and FCCC colleagues to make it happen here, your preparatory process on the finance track of COP28. We are honored to make our contribution. In the meantime, we benefit from your process in our deliberation. Thank you so much. May I now invite Mr. Habib Maha and Mr. Lukman Haruna from the Youth Forum to give us their takeaways from the youth perspective.
This week, youth from different parts of the globe gathered together to identify pressing issues and innovative solutions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Habiba Mahar from the Kingdom of Bahrain. I had the honor of participating in this year's UNCTAD Youth Forum, held during the World Investment Forum in Abu Dhabi. During this remarkable event, we had the privilege of engaging with passionate young minds from all corners of the globe. We came together with a shared goal of discussing 3 key agendas: reimagining education, greening of industries, and future of technology. We were inspired by the diverse perspectives and ideas that were exchanged, as well as the profound commitment to creating positive change. We delved into topics such as cyber safety, AI for good, and education for the future. The experience was not just about attending sessions and workshops. It was about forging connections and building a global network of like-minded individuals who are passionate about making a difference. The interactions I had with fellow participants, experts, and industry leaders were invaluable, fostering new friendships and opening doors to new opportunities. Furthermore, the UNCTAD Youth Forum emphasized the importance of youth voices in decision-making processes. It reinforced the notion that our ideas and perspective hold immense value and should be integrated into policy formation at all levels. We have come together to create a youth declaration, which has been submitted to the UNCTAD. The voices of the youth continue to reach UNCTAD. This experience has ignited us with a fire within us, fueling our determination to contribute to sustainable development and venture into asking the right questions. In closing, we, the youth, express our deepest gratitude to the UNCTAD Youth Forum and the World Investment Forum for providing us with this extraordinary program. We are tremendously grateful for this opportunity to be part of a global movement that champions youth empowerment and strives for a more inclusive and prosperous future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Habib Maha. We look forward to disseminate your youth declaration, and thank you to the Youth Forum to join the UNCTAD World Investment Forum. And this is the first time we have the impact from the youth in this perspective. May I now have the honor to invite Mr. Ahmed Muhta, Senior Economist and Head of Strategies and Policies from FAO, to give us the takeaway from the Agri-food investment track. Thank you so much for FAO to join the World Investment Forum to organize the events. Thank you. Please.
Thank you so much, James. A very good afternoon now. Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, Excellency Dr. Zewde, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji, all protocols observed. It was such a pleasure to be part of this World Investment Forum for the first time, not personally for me, but for FAO, but certainly not the last time. First and foremost, a big thanks to the host government through Dr. Zewde for such excellent hospitality that we have been enjoying for many years now, Dubai, or let's say UAE becoming the new multilateral hub, and we would enjoy it during COP as well, and the WTO Ministerial. And a big thanks to UNCTAD for offering us the opportunity to do this track on investing in agri-food system, which was really a great thing. Now, what is the outcome? The outcome is that we did a call for action. We need an action through the collaborative but urgent initiatives in order to fulfill this investment need. Let me make a case that why do we need investments into transforming the agri-food systems. We know that the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development highlights the critical role of agri-food systems in tackling the global challenges such as the malnutrition, poverty, loss of biodiversity and ecosystem services, and importantly, climate change as well. However, unfortunately, the world is significantly off track in achieving the zero hunger by end of this decade, or by the time that we have to complete the SDGs or achieve the SDGs. Thus, there is an urgent need for a paradigm shift and transformation towards more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems for better production, better nutrition, better environment, and a better life, leaving no one behind. There is, however, a lack of adequate investments, be it public or private, in agri-food systems. Therefore, we need to mobilize and scale up additional private and public investments. We need to repurpose the existing fiscal outlays in the agriculture sector, or in normal terminology, the agriculture subsidies, towards increasing the sustainability and productivity rather than consumption-oriented fiscal outlays. Now, we need to mobilize the additional SDG-aligned inclusive financial resources and innovative financial mechanisms such as the blended finance and other instruments to de-risk the agriculture investments and to make these more attractive. And what we came out with is that we need not only the multilateral stakeholders and approaches and partnerships, including the public and private sector, but also civil society, academia, research institutions, and all of the other set of stakeholders. This is why we did this call for action, which has to be an inclusive one. Now, some of the elements that were discussed during this track sessions is that agri-food systems have to adopt to new technologies and innovations on a larger scale in order to mitigate and adopt the climate change challenges and address the biodiversity loss and land degradation. And that links to what our colleague from UNFCCC mentioned. The higher costs, however, of these transitions render access to the new technologies, especially for smallholder farmers and vulnerable groups such as the women, youth, and migrants. Thus, it necessitates to invest more and allocate financial resources. The strategic foresight exercises can help long-term public planning, and shaping policy processes in transforming agri-food systems. Findings from the foresight work of the FAO and the partners will envisage potentially significant tech developments and anticipate their impacts, threats, and opportunities. The next takeaway was that investing in sustainable agri-food value chains and agri-businesses can significantly contribute towards creating the income and employment, improving access to affordable and healthy diets, building resilience of communities to climate change, and optimizing the use of natural resources. We know that almost 70% of the global population is projected to live in cities by 2050. There is also an urgent need to speed up the urban agri-food systems transformation and investments into that. Besides closing the financial gap, there should also be a cooperation between the local and national governments in developing and implementing the food safety and security policies. Next, the investments in upgrading rural markets facilities, such as improving the cold storage facilities, deploying climate-smart processing, storage, and packaging, and utilizing the handling technologies to reduce food loss and waste and negative impacts would add quite a lot of value to the agriculture production and food security. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the agri-food systems transformation must be inclusive. We need to particularly focus on marginalized groups, such as the smallholder and refugees and youth. While smallholders cultivate most of the farms or agriculture production in countries, their farm investments are often undermined by a lack of access to inputs, resources, and markets for profitable production. In order to synergize their investments, we need to invest a little bit into that. Young people face multiple challenges to participate in the food systems fully, and there is a call for agripreneurship or entrepreneurship in agriculture for the youth. The limited decision-making power and control over resources often leave women unable to make strategic decisions and investment choices for themselves and their families, particularly in agriculture. The refugees and people affected by conflicts, particularly in our region, also need a special attention, and we need to invest in order to ensure resilience in those communities. Sorry for the long statement, but there was a lot that we learned from the panelists through these sessions. And once again, thank you for the opportunity, and back to you, James.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohta, and we thank FAO for the great collaboration and for this joint contribution to the outcome of the World Investment Forum. Before I end this segment of the high-level roundtable, I have the honor to invite Her Excellency Ms. Paula Nahver Ojeda, President of United Nations Economic and Social Council, to give Her Excellency's perspective.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks to United Arab Emirates, His Excellency, dear Minister, thank you for hosting us in your country. It has been a pleasure to be here. Congratulations to UNCTAD for organizing this successful and meaningful forum and all the protocol observed. I'm delighted to join you today to highlight some of the key takeaways of this forum and the linkages with the discussions we are having on financing for development in New York. One key takeaway after a week of rich discussions between different actors, government officials, international organizations, representatives, private sector executives, academia, civil society, among many others, is that in order to meet global development needs, we require a collective effort and a mixed approach to revitalize investments. It is clear that we are still facing a tremendous challenge in financing the SDGs. The global economy is facing multiple shocks that are threatening to further reverse progress on the SDGs. Achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, which are not in track for their fulfillment, demands that we effectively address the current $4 trillion annual investment gap in developing countries. But at the same time, there is growing consensus that what we are trying to achieve is doable. And I think it's important to create hope in this discussion as well. This is my key takeaway from the SDG Summit as well, and the Secretary General's SDG Stimulus Plan. There is an urgent and vital need to implement policies and take action to reverse negative trends. We have not seen the level of funding required to meet our ambitious global goals, and we cannot simply continue with more of the same and expect a different result. The SDG stimulus calls for an increase in financing for sustainable development of at least 500 billion per year. The message is clear. We need a significant scaling up of long-term financing to close the growing finance divide and to prevent that the finance divide from turning into a lasting, sustainable development divide. There are many types of funding needed to support the SDGs and embeds in our global commons. We need to be creative and ambitious. Crucial in all this will be a significant increase in public funding, and that money cannot be managed as we managed in the last century. Governance in the 21st century needs to be representative and effective. In particular, the role of the UN in setting priorities and overseeing decisions need to be central. The world needs a coherent, ambitious, and effective system of international public finance to respond to the multiple challenges it faces in 2023 and beyond. We need to work towards a fairer and more effective architecture that delivers more of the right kind of money and the right way on an ongoing and more predictable basis. I'm delighted that the focus of the World Investment Forum is aligned with this urgent call to scale up investment in sustainable development, particularly in areas like food security, energy, health, supply chain resilience, and growing productive capacities in developing countries. Additionally, investment in critical infrastructure at the local level is fundamental for achieving the SDGs and fostering inclusive development. Moreover, South-South cooperation plays a vital role in shaping investment policies and fostering sustainable development. It provides a platform for nations to share experience, exchange best practices, and collaborate on projects that are tailored to their unique needs. And a special note on the critical attentions we need to put into the reality of LLDCs, LDCs, and SEEDs, and their investment challenges. If we do not address the reality, we will not be able to fulfill the principles and objectives of the 2030 Agenda. You count on ECOSOC as a platform to advance in this direction. Looking ahead, the 2024 ECOSOC Forum on Financing for Development, as well as the SDG Investment Fair, will offer space for governments and all stakeholders, including the private sector, to advance discussions on how to mobilize investment for SDGs. The planned fourth International Conference on Financing for Development will provide an opportunity to reach agreements on critical issues pertaining to mobilizing investment in sustainable development, such as enhancing the sustainable development impact of investment and strengthening partnerships between the public and private sector. There is growing political support to achieve tangible actions across all these areas, and relevant stakeholders are relying around these common goals in advance of the conference. Much work lies ahead, but I'm convinced that what we are trying to achieve will be possible through our common commitment to the SDGs. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for my voice, but I'm suffering for the AC. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the President of UN Economic and Social Council. Thank you for bringing the message and expectations from the SDG Summit and the UN Council on Economic and Social, UN Economic Social Council. That's a powerful message for us, giving us the guidance for way forward. Now allow me to open the floor to start with the way forward perspective, hearing from the leadership, ministers, state secretaries, and also ambassadors here with us. Allow me to start with a video message from Her Excellency, Ms. Zacharopoulou, Secretary of State to the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, with responsibility for development, Francophonie, and International Partnership is the Republic of France.
Dear friends, in less than 2 months, the opening of COP28 in Dubai will be a pivotal moment. Faced with the climate crisis, we all need to embrace the rapid decarbonization of our economies, and this will require a massive surge in sustainable investments where they are most needed. Developing countries are all too often faced with a choice between apparently conflicting sustainable development goals, dealing with the consequences of climate change on all fronts while maintaining an ambitious development trajectory. We cannot accept this. This is why France convened last June in Paris leaders from across all geographies. Together, we designed the Paris Pact for the planet and the people, with one aim: no one should have to choose between fighting poverty or mitigating and adapting to the climate crisis. Therefore, I'm happy to let you know that the pact was endorsed by 36 states from all continents, making sure that every partner's voice, developing, emerging, or developed, is heard. It is now all about projecting this coalition in all arenas. At the General Assembly of the UN in New York or the annual meetings of the World Bank and the IMF in Marrakesh, France kept advocating for the pact. I strongly believe that the pact echoes the core mission of UNCTAD. So please allow me to outline its key ideas in wrapping up the With the World Investment Forum. Any development project should be based on country ownership. France and many other donors committed to proceed to international aid via country platforms. We need more public money to support sustainable development across the globe. As we definitely need enhanced multilateral development banks, we called for a strong concessional shock. We need even more private money to flow into the right project on the ground. There could be a game-changing multiplier effect if we engage the financial system and unlock its supporting potential. For example, some methodologies of credit rating agencies can prevent investments in very relevant sustainable development projects. We need to fix this. As such, the pact is essential to ensure the delivery of the SDGs on time. Let me remind the stakes and the figures. 85% of the indicators of our 2030 agenda are not on track. Bearing this stunning ratio in mind, I keep positive. During the Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi, our African partners remind us that the fight against climate crisis can also be a formidable accelerator to achieve SDGs. A regenerative economy creates social progress and economic value as much as good reasons to hope for the planet. Therefore, let's not only look at net zero carbon targets, but aim at nature positive results that will help in reducing inequalities. This will require a transformation of our economic system as a whole, way beyond its financial component. Therefore, we also look forward to the 13th World Trade Organization meeting in Abu Dhabi. Thank you very much. Abu Dhabi. Thank you very much.
We thank Her Excellency, Secretary of State for the Ministry in Europe and Foreign Affairs, Republic of France. Now I have the honor to give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Bernardo Avol Cruz, Secretary of State for International Trade and Foreign Investment, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Portugal. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you, Pedro, for all the support that UNCTAD has been given to Portugal and to our strategy that I'll have the pleasure to introduce to you on supporting SMEs in their drive to reach the ESG goals. Before I do that, I just wanted to make a short point. The first time the United Nations spoke about the relation between people and climate was in 1949, 5 short years after the creation of the organization. In 1967, ECOSOC decided to organize the first conference on climate that took place in 1972 in Stockholm. And in 1986, we had the now very famous Gro-Brundtland report, where for the first time we combined the concept of sustainability and development. And in 1987, all of that in the 20th century, we had the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So, and then it took us 28 years to discussing if science was science and if climate was changing, until finally we reached the 2015 SDG agenda. So we wasted 28 years in futile debate about what science meant, and now we have to do we decided to do in 15 years of those we have 6 years left, what we could have done in 53 years had we listened to science to begin with. The climate change reality impacts everybody and impacts business as well. And there are 5 major drives for the private sector to engage in climate change policies and to adapt and to promote climate change. The first one is science, and UNFCCC has just mentioned the summer of 2023 and what happened from the fires in Canada to the floods in China. The second one is the legal framework that international organizations and states are creating that drive climate change policy and the impact of that legislation in the private sector. The third one is financing and access to financing. Talent capture and attracting of talent for companies, and finally the market itself. Most of this legislation and changes that we are creating in our framework it applies specifically to large corporations. But SMEs work with large corporations and work within this framework of large corporations. They are, when they are exporting, most of them are part of the supply chain for corporations. So if a corporation is mandatory by law, by access to finance, by access to market, and by capacity to attract talent by the climate change and the SDGs, so are the SMEs. But the SMEs are smaller, are weaker, and do not have the same capacity to do so. So Portugal has presented at the end of last month a national strategy to support SMEs in their role to include and to adapt and to report ESG conditions and goals. What we've done is a partnership, and it's all based on a large partnership between the government, private sector organizations, universities, research centers, civil society organizations, business associations and confederations. We're all working together to create a 3-stage strategy to help our SMEs to adapt to ESG requirements. The first one is training, a 2-tier training, broadband training for SMEs to understand exactly what ESG means and what are the consequences of ESG. And the second part of the training is an industry-based training, because ESGs for one sort of industry have very little to do with ESGs for another sort of industry. ESGs for the clothing sector has very little to do with ESGs for the car manufacturer sector. There's different paths to reach the same goal. And that work is done with business and associations. So we're working with the trade associations of each sector to create a training system for our ESGs. The second one is to put together all the tools necessary for assessing, reporting, and for the SMEs to assess their stage of development in the ESG strategy and then to report to the market what they're doing. And the third one is peer support, and particularly the relationship within the supply chain, large corporations helping their supply chain to reach these goals. We are very hopeful that, on one hand, very helpful and thankful for all the support that we received, not only from the Portuguese business community, universities, and social society organizations, but also from UNCTAD, the European Union, and other international organizations that have worked with us in putting together this organization. I had the pleasure of welcoming James in our conference launching the strategy. And I would like to leave a final message, if I could. We wasted, as I said, 53 years on futile debates about climate change. We should not make the same mistake about digital transition. It will have a massive impact on society, on business, on the way that governments work, on education, on basically everything. We should learn from our past mistakes of not accepting that reality is knocking on our door and try to work together, again, in a massive partnership across the international organizations, bringing together business, universities, and civil society organizations to be able to address the challenges of digitalization as we are now doing to address the challenges of climate change. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Mr. Cruz. You have given us the guidance of future work in the area, particularly SME competitiveness in the new global context, particularly the changing environment, that SME's competitiveness is critically important. Thank you so much. May I now have the honor to invite Her Excellency, Ms. Fonevan Otvanau, Deputy Minister, Minister of Planning and Investment, Lao People's Democratic Republic. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is again my great honor to be here and joining this important closing session. I have shared my point of view and on behalf of my country already in many sessions, and now I would also like again to express my sincere gratitude to UNCTAD for giving me the opportunity to share and to learn from excellencies and other speakers. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to the host country, UAE, for very warm hospitality. I'm very glad to be here in these, very beautiful countries and learn from you, Excellency, your expertise and lesson learned. So thank you very much again. And I would also like to inform you that next year, Laos will be the chairmanship of ASEAN. And also we're gonna have a Laos tour this year. So you are all welcome to Laos and continue support and help us to go through these difficult times. We are facing a lot of challenges. We're facing a lot of difficulties from negative impact. So once again, thank you very much for all the support. Together we can achieve our goal and targets. Thank you very much. And let me wish you all good health, greater success and happiness. Thank you very much for allowing me to share again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We look forward to the chairmanship or the presidency of ASEAN next year. And in fact, 10 years ago, UNCTAD has the honor to be in your country, myself and the colleagues, to launch the ASEAN investment report at the summit, ASEAN summit in your country. And we look forward to provide further support to your presidency next year. Thank you, Your Excellency. Allow me now to invite His Excellency, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Zafar, Ambassador of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Ambassador, you have the floor. It's not there? Okay. Now, next on my list is Her Excellency, Ms. Clara Manuela de Luz Delgado Jesus, Ambassador, Permanent Representative at Embassy and Permanent Mission of Cape Verde in Geneva. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Allow me first of all to thank UNCTAD and to thank also the authorities of United Arab Emirates for hosting us here in Abu Dhabi. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is a great pleasure for me to address such a distinguished audience. We have reached the end of the World Investment Forum, and we have the task to provide some closing remarks. It is a task, it is a sad task. It is a task because we shall be closing the door on lively and stimulating debate, as well as bidding farewell to friends and associates. However, it is also a privilege and an honor to be entrusted with such an undertaking at a gathering of such eminent people from different parts of the world in the fields of government, industry, academia, and the media, and many more. As with all such events, and this forum has been an outstanding example. Our minds have been assailed by a torrent of ideas, information, statistics, interpretation, and visions. And it will probably be a day or two before we can sift through them and consolidate our own personal perspective. I want to highlight some of the sessions that have followed implication. I know that all of the sessions have a takeaway that we can implement when we are home together and individually. Yesterday, we had an insightful roundtable discussion on FDI and human empowerment in partnership with UN Women and ILO. We connected the dots and we identified the gaps. We were concerned about not being too simplistic in discussing the role of MNS and how they can help proper gender equality, but also were given ample ideas on how to bridge FDIs on gender equality. We discussed the women's economic empowerment principles. We raised the bar by waiting to make sure that we truly increase the number of companies that will sign up to the women empowerment principles, to make sure that probably by 2030, signing up will a norm rather than an exception. In the same way, we also want companies that are able to procure from women to have become more of the mainstream by 2030, rated than an exception. Linking back with the dialogue we had yesterday, similarly, Cabo Verde has seen some progress on women empowerment. In Cabo Verde, only 83.3% of legal framework that promote, enforce, and monitor gender equality and empower under SDG indicator, with a focus on violence against women, are in place. The efforts of MNS as well FDI shows that a change can be made for women across all boards, and that the discussion around women empowerment should be met with realistic objectives and outcomes. The above mentioned are a small beneficiary of FDI and how it can support institutions to be more egalitarian and proactive. The contribution of women to development of Cabo Verde is undeniable. The workforce resilience and entrepreneurial spirit are strong characteristics of Cabo Verdean women. I believe that the essential elements for their economic empowerment already exist, and the different projects will reinforce and complete Cabo Verde's important advance in the field against gender-based violence and for equal access to opportunities. Mirroring the approach and the underlying theme of investment development of small islands development states, we see the importance of addressing issues and particularly challenges relating to economic development and climate change while safeguarding our own integrity. Understanding, anticipating, and adapting to economic, social, environmental, and climate-related challenge is therefore of critical importance if SEEDs plan on achieving economic stability and security. The advantages of investing in sustainable ocean opportunities are anticipated to be closely but realistic and ambitiously sustainable, recognizing this potential and influenced via the emerging evidence of ocean decline. Yet, beneath those targets to conserve and sustainably use ocean resources lies a great variety of assumptions concerning relative significance of various goals. With regards to sustainable use, the Sustainable Blue Economy agenda is regularly portrayed as win-win, but there are frequently trade-offs which might be unrealized or neglected. Many procedures to reaping monetary benefits from marine assets hazard depleting marine species and ecosystem, which then compromise long-term financial benefits and nearby livelihoods. Indeed, there are extensive risks that a rapid increase in public and personal funding in ocean industry can accelerate trades which might be environmentally negative, boom social inequality, and undermine human health. SEEDs are leading example of their commitment to conserve and sustainable control that's essential for the lives and livelihoods for their people. However, to fulfill their ocean conservation, blue economy objective, sizable finance is needed, and SEEDs actually no longer have fiscal area to release the capital essential to accomplish this. Blue bonds are rising as an innovative manner to fund ocean and water-associated solutions, create sustainable business possibilities, and sign responsible ocean stewardship to the marketplace. Today, blue bonds are where green bonds have been 10 years ago, and the market is poised to bear in addition rapid growth. Currently, in order for SEEDs to take gain of this blue wave and take part in those markets, significant debt structuring and or complicated negotiation of debt swaps facilitated through willing philanthropic companies are required. As Cabo Verde is a small island state, our vision for the industry sector, inherent in the Ambition 2030, consists of achieving a competitive and innovative industrial sector, contributing significantly to sustainable and inclusive development, integrating regional and global value chains. Therefore, the main objective of Cabo Verde 2022-2026 is to ensure that Cabo Verde population benefits from enhanced integration in regional and global value claims through the competitiveness. The fourth International Conference on Small Island Development States, which will take place in Antigua and Barbuda in 2024, will be fundamental in realizing the importance of proper policy decision making as well as addressing the sustainable prosperity, which are the main goal of all small islands development states. Finally, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Your Excellency, the Minister, the Ambassadors, the Head of International Organizations present here, and all the other speakers and the panel members. Their presence has been invaluable and without any doubt has helped make the event a great success. I also want to thank the government of the United Arab Emirates and the leadership of all the different Emirates who played a role in making this such a wonderful event. What is wonderful about this event is that there was enough variety for us to be excited about the choice of the activities to attend, but not so big that there were difficulties with the audience members. The balance here was just right, and the substance and the quality of the present was excellent. Since the World Investment Forum is a biennial event, I look forward to seeing you again in 2025 when we shall reconvene to discuss another topical theme of sustainable development and ways we can accelerate investment and inclusive development. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, may I invite Her Excellency Dr. Sophie Bosa Martinez, Ambassador, Permanent Representative, Permanent Mission of Chile to the WTO.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Excellencies, distinguished guests. First of all, let me congratulate UNCTAD and UAE for the organization of this timely and so fruitful event. I think these are the type of right actions to prevent the fragmentation of the global economy and build altogether a more prosperous tomorrow. I have participated in this event wearing two different but complementary hats: Ambassador of Chile to the WTO and UNCTAD, and co-coordinator of the Investment Facilitation for Development initiative at the WTO. On the first, I am very glad to have had the opportunity to participate in conversations that are extremely relevant today for Chile's internationalization strategy, as women, business and investment, value chains for critical minerals, sustainable investment, among many others. As co-chair of the IFT initiative, I leave this forum even more motivated, if possible. From what I have heard these days, the future investment facilitation for development agreement is very much aligned with the national and regional efforts worldwide for attracting not only more, but better investment. I hope those countries, WTO members, that are still not participating of the AFD can join us to have the first multilateral agreement that addresses investment in a comprehensive way and with the development dimension as its center. And I hope that next February we can celebrate IFT agreement as a milestone for the economic global integration in this same wonderful venue during the WTO MC13. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador of Chile. I wish also to take this opportunity to congratulate you as a co-chair of the WTO investment facilitation negotiations that has been quite successful under your leadership. Now I'm continue on the list. I have Her Excellency Ms. Maria Najeta Opombo, Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the United Arab Emirates. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for giving me the floor. Excellencies, distinguished guests, first of all, let me congratulate the United and the host country for the successful holding of the World Investment Forum. As ever before, the Democratic Republic of the Congo is drifting away from a conflict swamp towards a peaceful, bright future. The DRC, as you all know, is a key player in the fight against climate change. I would like to start by giving you a few facts to underline the opportunity. At 2.3 million square kilometers, the DRC is the second largest country in Africa after Algeria. It is about the same size as the whole Western Europe, and it has a population of about 120 million. The majority of it are under 25. This means a large tailor-made workforce, as well as a huge set of future consumers about to explode on the scene. DRC is the richest country in the world in terms of minerals, over 1,100 minerals worth 24 trillion US dollars untapped. There is also sufficient hydroelectric potential and water supplies. DRC holds 60% of the world's cobalt deposit, essential component for the electric vehicles, the technology that helps fighting against climate change. Looking at our national resources, we are blessed by a Congo River, the world's second most powerful river by volume after the Amazon. We are also second to Amazon in terms of natural rainforest, home to fantastic biodiversity. As of course, below the ground, we are also blessed by a cornucopia of mineral resources. The Congo's mineral wealth is a freak of nature, including gold, diamonds, uranium, coltan, copper, and the cobalt. Of course, the key ingredient I said earlier on in the new technology to fight against climate change. So we have the resources, the human capital, and the will to make it happen. But we need the expertise of the industrialized world in creating infrastructure, such as refineries, to add value to our new raw materials inside the country before exporting them. Many sectors, including mining, but by no means limited to mining, are crying out to be given the lifeblood of investment. The DRC government is highly committed to promoting trade and business relations with the UAE. UAE companies have world-leading capabilities in the industries which DRC are looking for investors in. These include mining, renewable energy, particularly solar energy, and professional services and financial services. We need to establish a sustainable trade and business cooperation between the DRC and the UAE, establishing strong bilateral relationship between the two countries, not only in terms of business, but also on the diplomatic, social, and the cultural exchanges field, and build strong ties at the government levels with the signing of agreements for implementation of development projects. I would like to see more exchange of official visits between our two countries at a high level. In short, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has long ceased to be the land of regional conflicts. It is now a new fertile destination and a vast expanse for business and investment in all sectors. The way forward is the massive investment in the DRC, which is the heart of Africa. The DRC is the country solution that needs support to keep protecting its forest by offering an alternative solution to its population that are living on wood. Both DRC and UAE are committed to improving business relations. We must make this a reality, and I'm confident together we'll make it. With the UAE hosting the COP28, we believe that the world will see the light at the end of the tunnel in the fight against climate change. The Democratic Republic of Congo needs to have some incentive to protect his environment and to achieve the sustainable development goals. With these few remarks on my country, I had taken this opportunity to present some facts of my country so that you know that the new vital destination now for investment, it's called the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the heart of Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. May I now give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Bakaba Diaby, Ambassador of Republic of Côte d'Ivoire to the UAE. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Je voudrais, en prenant la parole, féliciter l'UNTAC et les autorités émiraties pour la parfaite organisation de cette 8e édition du Forum des investissements. Je voulais dire, à l'entame de mon propos, que depuis son adhésion à l'UNTAC en 1994, à l'horizon jusqu'à l'organisation de la COP 15 à Abidjan, la Côte d'Ivoire a adhéré à plusieurs mécanismes régionaux, internationaux, et a développé un système législatif, réglementaire, national, qui prend en compte la lutte contre le réchauffement climatique. Et dès son accession à la magistrature suprême, son Excellence Alassane Ouattara a eu le souci d'allier l'amélioration et le climat des affaires avec l'environnement et le climat. Et en tant qu'un pays agricole, premier producteur de cacao, premier producteur mondial de l'anacarde, vous comprenez très bien que cette activité ne peut se faire que dans des conditions climatiques, environnementales favorables. Et à peu près 8 millions de personnes vivent aux dépens de l'agriculture. Si je ne me limite qu'à l'agriculture, sans prendre l'élevage et l'aquaculture. Les objectifs des différents mécanismes mis en place, qui sont l'adaptation d'abord, et ensuite la réduction des gaz à effet de serre. La Côte d'Ivoire a, cette année, en prenant en compte tous ces mécanismes, a dédié cette année à la jeunesse. La jeunesse qui, en prenant en compte la question de la durabilité, parce que nous avons à peu près 65% de la population qui est jeune, et vous comprenez que la question de la durabilité est essentielle. Et le président de la République avait à cœur donc d'allier l'avenir de notre pays avec cette question de la durabilité en dédiant cette année à l'année de la jeunesse. Les principaux enjeux de tous ces mécanismes, qui sont d'abord l'atténuation et l'adaptation, les secteurs concernés sont l'énergie, la santé, le déchet, la gestion de notre côte, l'agriculture, la foresterie. Concernant l'atténuation, les objectifs globaux d'ici à 2030 au regard des outils nationaux, c'est de réduire à plus de 30% nos émissions de gaz à effet de serre. Et cela, normalement, devrait créer 34 800 000 emplois dans tous les secteurs que je viens de citer. Au niveau de l'adaptation, la mise en œuvre entraînera 870 000 emplois. Le financement, la mise en œuvre de ces mécanismes nécessite des investissements qui requièrent une coopération renforcée entre l'État ivoirien, le secteur privé, le secteur public, les institutions financières internationales, les pays partenaires, les nouveaux mécanismes tels que le Fonds vert pour le climat et les instruments financiers dans les banques multilatérales de développement. L'ouverture de notre ambassade aux Émirats arabes unis répond entre autres à ces besoins. Carrefour donc des finances mondiales, enrichi d'une expertise en matière de production d'énergie propre, nous appelons de tout notre vœu toutes les initiatives privées et publiques qui peuvent être mobilisées à partir des Émirats arabes unis ou d'autres capitales à se joindre à l'atteinte de nos modestes objectifs d'ici 2030. Je voudrais, sur ces quelques mots, remercier l'Assemblée de son aimable attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Ambassador of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. May I now invite Her Excellency, Ms. Lucy Berger, Ambassador of the European Union to the United Arab Emirates. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear participants, good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here with you today at this closing event of the forum. For me and my team, the event has generated many insights which can feed into the EU's policy making and our international trade and investment relations. These insights cover investment in everything from sustainable development and the energy transition to food security and health. Developing countries face a growing gap between the investment they need to reach the UN Sustainable Development Goals, our Sustainable Development Goals, and the investment they're generating. This currently stands at over $4 trillion per year and is growing, according to UNCTAD's own figures. So countries need to be doing everything possible to make it easier for investors to establish themselves and conduct day-to-day business in their territories. Little wonder then that investment facilitation has been one of this forum's recurrent themes. Investment facilitation is also central to the EU's Global Gateway strategy. This is about boosting investment in digital, energy, and transport links, and strengthening health, education, and research systems across the world. Between 2021 and 2027, Team Europe, meaning the EU institutions and EU member states jointly, will mobilize up to 300 million euros in investment in sustainable, high-quality projects. As such, Global Gateway is the EU's contribution to narrowing the global investment gap worldwide. Closing this gap requires the full commitment of the EU and our partners, but countries also need to do what they can to enable investors to set up and operate easily on their territories. That's why we also welcome the conclusion by more than 110 members of the World Trade Organization of an agreement on investment facilitation for development. It's also why the EU has developed a bilateral approach by negotiating sustainable investment facilitation agreements. We are soon going to sign an agreement with Angola and look forward to negotiating with other partners in Africa and in the EU's neighborhood in particular. And most importantly, it's also why I'm happy to announce today that the EU and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States are committing 2.8 million euros to a new capacity building program for international investment agreements and facilitation. UNCTAD will be our implementing partner. In a nutshell, the program will enable 6 developing countries, Angola, Gambia, Nigeria, Suriname, Vanuatu, and Zimbabwe, to assess how much support and what kind they need to fulfill the commitments they've made in investment facilitation agreements. As well as funding needs assessment, the program will also provide technical assistance that responds to the needs identified. This will include the deployment of UNCTAD's state-of-the-art digital tools, namely investment guides that provide investors with an overview of what's required to invest in a particular country, information portals that walk foreign and local investors through the steps needed to register so they can legally operate, and digital single windows which enable investors to obtain those registrations online and in one place. To conclude, the EU is a steadfast investment partner for developing countries. We're providing unprecedented levels of investment through Global Gateway, and with this new program, with the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States and UNCTAD, we are enabling a number of our partners to facilitate investments. By joining forces in this way, I'm convinced developing countries can come closer to meeting their investment needs. And to this end, I would like to thank UNCTAD for their continuous support of the WTO work on investment facilitation and all their efforts on implementation in this respect, and UAE for hosting this important event and for continuing drawing global attention to the importance of investment for development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and also on behalf of UNCTAD, we wish to express our gratitude to the European Union for the generous financial support. With the timely and substantial support, financial support, we at UNCTAD will be able to support developing countries in their endeavor to attract investment for sustainable development. Thank you. Now, may I have the honor to invite Her Excellency, Ms. Julia Menemen Chanchora, Ambassador, Permanent Representative of Republic of Namibia. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, James. And I would like to thank the UNCTAD, the Deputy Secretary General, Pedro Moreno. Thank you very much. And your team for an excellent organization of our gathering. I would like to thank the UAE as well for hosting us and for their superb hospitality. I have 6 reflective points, very brief. First, I wanted to echo what the Prime Minister of Fiji said, and he said, no size fits all. And to that, I would like to add, no country is an island unto itself. We need collaboration and cooperation with each other, within and amongst each other. Number 2, we need investments in climate mitigation and adaptation efforts, infrastructure, and digital investment, as was mentioned by Portugal before. In many of our countries, we talk about connecting or bridging the connection, the digital gap, connectivity. In other countries, they're talking about artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. So we need to bridge that gap. Number 3, technology transfer and skills transfer. Very, very important. We also need to invest more in entrepreneurship and scholarships and training for many of our people. Number 4, we need to remind ourselves of inclusivity and representation. This was mentioned in the report given by the Deputy Secretary General when he informed us of the youth participation and the 34% of women at this conference. Number 5, finance, finance, finance. Access to finance, climate finance, innovative finance, microfinance, venture capital, and angel networks. Finance is critical to all that we're doing. Number 6, finally, what stood out for me in this conference and what was mentioned yesterday is the fact that it is easy to attract investment, but it's difficult to sustain investment. Our collective charge should be, how can we sustain investment? I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your 6 points. That will be the guiding principles for us to move forward. And thank you. And also, we missed President Gingob, who was with us in the previous World Investment Forum. Thank you. Now we have His Excellency, Mr. Alan Luke, Diplomatic Advisor, Embassy of Switzerland to the United Arab Emirates, and the Kingdom of Bahrain. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. Thank you for the United Arab Emirates for hosting this forum. Sustainable development is a key element of Swiss foreign policy. Climate change affects us all. Sustainable development is therefore not optional, but imperative for all of us. Switzerland is promoting sustainable finance as part of its economic and foreign policy. We appreciate all the agreements that have been signed in these last days on sustainable investment in different regions of the world. We highlight the importance of transparency and equality in international investment and trade for sustainable development. It is promising to see the panels on public-private partnership, and I want to highlight the importance of close cooperation between business and governments to reach our common goals. Our future depends on sustainable investment, and that is why the Youth Forum here is such an important part of this conference. We appreciate the high participation of women as speakers and participants of this forum. Switzerland strongly believes that sustainable development in trade goes hand in hand with empowerment of women in business and society. The Investment Forum also paves the way for the upcoming COP28 and the 13th World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference, and Switzerland is looking forward to continue to collaborate with all of you to achieve the goals of the SDGs. We especially thank the UAE for enabling such conference and leading the way for other countries to sustainable development. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. For this closing session, I wish to give the last word to His Excellency, Ambassador Fouad Chehab Dandan, Ambassador of Lebanon to the United Arab Emirates.
Thank you very much. Please allow me first to congratulate you on this successful forum, and I would like to thank UAE for their generous hospitality and hosting this event in Abu Dhabi. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our concerns and learn from others. The timing could not have been any better, giving this to address all the challenges that we are facing in this time of year, and the world economy is facing the unfortunate events that's happening. This forum helped us to focus on the most critical issues that we need to greatly and collectively address and do the effort to overcome them all. We look forward for continuous discussions and to obtain a stronger economy, a global economy. This forum helps us to really put together our heads and do a lot of work that needs to be done. And allow me to just small statement. All the issues that we have addressed, we also need to also invest on humanity. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your concluding remarks of this segment of the closing session. Allow me to say a few words as the organization of this conference. First, I wish to join our Deputy Secretary General to once again express our deep appreciation to the government of the United Arab Emirates for its generous hospitality and a splendid collaboration over the past year. Our gratitude goes to Mr. Daoud Al-Shizawi and Mr. Walid Fahad and their teams of the AIM, and to the ethnic team and their numerous helpers who have been really benefiting a lot from their support. Without them, this forum won't happen. I also wish to express our thanks to our colleagues from the security, interpretation, and here, especially, I wish to acknowledge the great leadership of our Secretary General, Greenspan, and also our Deputy Secretary General, Moreno. Throughout the process of preparation, we have your guidance, we have your timely support, we have everything from you, and we bother you all the time in order to move things forward. Wish also to thank your office for the great support. They spend extra efforts in addition to heavy workload to help us to support the WIF team and our intergovernmental support services and also our communication services. And they have done a marvelous job to bring in what we have discussed here to the rest of the world and let our messages spread around the world, landed on the ground. And administration wish to say, but also other substantive divisions and services in UNCTAD, the trade division, the technology and the logistics division, and other colleagues. But the last, not least, and in fact for me, it's very important to thank all the staff in my division, colleagues working very hard. We have the leadership team, we have Richard, Baldwin, Alex Dabu, and Alcalde. We were all working together, and all the chiefs of the branch sections and colleagues. So thank you so much for the great efforts. It's a great teamwork. And also I thank all of you for coming and helping us to make this 2023 World Investment Forum such a great success. Now I pass on the floor to our Deputy Secretary General, Pedro.
After 1 week together, thank you, James. I think that thank you very much. Nothing much to add. A lot of homework to take home. Thanks to all the team. Thanks to all of you for staying here and to, for helping us trying to continue shaping the future in the direction we all want. Thank you really much. Finally, I have to say that it's officially closed. Yes, if everybody was doubting that we were going to again do another panel, no, it's officially closed. So thank you. Safe trips back.